If you like growing food, then you might like eating food. And if you like eating food, then you might like cooking food. Well, go check out the first season of Backyard Kitchen, available on Tubi for free. Available on all smart TVs and online. That's TUBI, all free, first season of Backyard Kitchen. The minisodes are back with a new series. We are going to talk about saving money in your gardens. That's right. Who doesn't want to save some money? Right here on the Backyard Gardens podcast, starting seeds to save money.
To have a good harvest, one must plant good seeds and must also use the right kind of fertilizer. The carrots have grown large and firm. How good they will taste.
Welcome to the Backyard Gardens podcast, where we talk about all things gardening. We are your hosts, Ben in Batavia, and you can find me gardening in the country.
And you'll find me gardening in the city. Get ready as we dig deep into this
wonderful world of gardening, where we learn to grow and grow for change. All right, everybody. If you'd like to help support the show, check out the Patreon. The link is below. We have a new episode every month just for you. And one of the minisodes is just on Patreon as well. So you get 2 extra episodes a month. And check out our store to buy any kind of shirts, mugs, or water bottles. Yeah, check out Batavia's shirt. It's dope. I like it. So, starting seeds. What do you think?
Remember the story that this is maybe year before last, when my great aunt thought I was buying all of the plants I was putting into my garden?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I'd be in the poorhouse if that was the case. Like, based on the size of my garden now, I mean, the vast majority I had to start from seed. So I'm here for it.
I want to, before we even really dig into this at all, I know everybody's like, man, you talk about saving seeds a lot. We're going down a different path today. Mm-hmm. So let's ride this roller coaster with me. So we got 20 minutes. And we're not just going to talk about, hey, stick some seeds in some dirt and start it because it's going to save some money. There's a lot more to it. All right. So why are you laughing for?
That voice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So when we start seeds in the wintertime, a lot of people do. So we're all set up for it, right? Mm-hmm. But do you start seeds in the summertime?
I have been trying to.
But what kind of seeds are you starting?
Well, I'm starting most times, and by most times I mean the last 2 years, starting things to plant and for fall plantings, right? So during the summer, I'm still inside starting seeds for fall plantings. But I mean, I think, is the term starting seeds, is that synonymous with you're not direct sowing, that you are taking a space and saying, I'm going to put seeds in a pot or some, seed holder, and then we're going to basically transplant those? That's understood, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be into a pot. It can be direct sowing. Okay. I mean, and we've done the episode, and we released it. It was a patron-only episode, and we released it for everybody to hear about seedling prices this year. Mm-hmm. So just imagine, I'm sure there's plenty of people that could be listening to this who did their whole garden that way.
Yeah.
And if you go look at a pack of seeds, you know the argument. It's $3.99 for a pack of seeds on a high end, and you get 100 seeds. So it's 100 plants. So, you can do the math. But when the summer comes, a lot of people are starting their tomatoes and peppers and stuff during the winter. But when the summer comes, I think it falls flat on some people, including myself at times, that there's a whole nother aspect of starting seeds that we can do because we already have all the equipment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're starting seeds, you already have everything. So why not use it? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you convinced me to get on board. I think it was 2020 when it came to, maybe we were in June or July.
It was like our second conversation ever.
Yeah. And it's like, all right, let's turn those lights back on. Let's get prepared. And, really, while we talked about the sky high prices for some seedlings, like when you're buying transplants, while there's some that are more reasonably priced, a lot of them are still super high. We talked about that in the spring going into summer, both for spring crops and summer crops. But it's for my area, it's pretty hard to find seedlings when you get to kind of later in the summer, going into like preparing for your fall garden. So you got to kind of consider that. My area isn't like every area, right? You know, maybe more popular to have those transplants available for sale. But I absolutely believe if you have the setup, let's save some dollars, man. Let's spend that money somewhere else or not at all.
Well, and I mean, you can take it a step further. So like one thing I plan to do this year is, so on the Patreon page last year, I posted an article about, I believe it was New York State. They do all of their planting of their perennials and flowers and stuff in the fall. And so I did that this year. I did that last fall.
Okay.
Let me get it right in my head. And so when I did it, I came back out and I noticed like everything is like, it looks more established the first year, right? So then I said, okay, there's not a whole lot that I start in the fall for the fall. I mean, I start a lot, but I have a lot of room. So how can I make up the difference? Well, I can start my perennials in the summer, get them nice and strong, and then plant them all out in the fall. So that whole season, I'm using my whole setup appropriately.
Yeah.
And I mean, you think you save money when you do vegetables. I mean, perennials can be a whole new ball game.
Yeah. And I think that in addition to saving money, so there's two pieces of this. There's also saving time. But I think with that approach you're describing, it helps like the desire to run out in the spring and buy plants. You know, so if we're talking about perennial flowers as an example, if you have those already planted that previous fall, you remember that and you know they're going to end up coming up, right? And so the urge to buy what's first set out in the spring, you know, when it comes to flowers and other things even, maybe it diminishes just a little bit and we can save some money there. And then obviously there's minimal work that you'll need to do that spring, that next year after you've planted, right? You know, so I battled all spring. And, you know, by the time this airs, I'm probably still going to be in the fight, you know, when it comes to starting from let's get my garden ready for the growing year. And there's nothing better to look out for things that just popped up, decided it was their time to shine. Dude, I found, again, 2 potato plants. Again, that wasn't by design, but I found 2 potato plants that poked their way out after Chicago's winter. So guess what? This gal's growing them. We'll see what happens.
Well, and I mean, just to put it in perspective, I start a lot of perennials and flowers and stuff in the wintertime because if you've seen any of the YouTube videos, you know I've got a lot of space that I can fill. So every year I try and do a little bit more in the winter, but I've figured like if I do it in the summer, I can really focus on it and get a big jump on it.
Yeah.
Because one, it's usually the wet seasons, so you don't have to water them as much. So then they're established. So then when it gets spring, you don't have to stay on top of it and water. But also planting them and, you know, building out your gardens throughout the entire year, always adding something in. And so by me doing this in the over the winter, growing my perennials, I grew a lot of different flowers. I have not bought one single plant at the store yet this year. Not one.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
I haven't bought any vegetables. I haven't bought any flowers, and I've put in no less than 400 plants in my yard this year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, and you know, a lot of them are small. Don't get me wrong. You know, like I did a bunch of dianthus.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, one plant takes up like 2 square inches. So, you know, I'm planting a lot of them, but just to put it into perspective, like, just like you said, you can kind of eliminate it because you've planned ahead this time and you've grown all of this. There's no reason to go out and do this.
Yeah. I'm looking at my garden now, and what I said out loud was like, I really need some color. So there's a lot of greenery, you know, but not quite yet, you know, is there enough color? And you know what the next step is for me? It makes me want to go out and purchase, and I'm not saying that I'm not going to, but it makes me want to go out and purchase something that's some color that I can add to the garden, right? I still am working through, what the schedule looks like, what the quantity looks like, what the care looks like for flowers and starting them earlier. I have a whole shelf that I basically set up with the idea of it would be filled with flowers, and we're still working towards that. Not quite there yet, but again, starting seeds indoors, and then being able to take them outside, getting closer to bloom time once they get outside versus them again getting established, still growing greenery, and then blooming a little bit later.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, so I'm the opposite. I need more greenery.
Really?
Yeah, I need more greenery. I think I've done a lot of flowers and I'm trying to balance it. So there's that. And I don't know if I can find if there's seeds to do that. I haven't even looked into it yet. I'm taking a break from my seed starting because it was pretty intense over the winter. But as we get going, as it gets warmer and warmer, I'll get back into it because, the vegetables take a certain amount of time, but flowers can take a long time to start. And, some of them even need to have a stratification period. So there's that. But it's a good cost savings way to do it. So I had done a video this year and I was like, make a 3 to 5 year plan for your yard, for your space, and, try and work on that. So if I do, let's say I have let's just say I have a 5-year plan. If I do seeds in the spring, in the winter and in the summer to plan out in spring and fall, then I can cut my time in half. Okay. And by planting it in the fall, I can cut my labor down in watering and maintaining because it just chills in the fall. You know what I mean? Yep. But you have to plant what's appropriate for your area too, which more than likely is going to be something native. So
yeah, there is, and I'm going to have to mark it down for Leonard. I've not intentionally done it. It's been something I've wanted to do, but I've actually not intentionally done it. And I've kind of stumbled into it. But, kind of the overwintering of things. I know it doesn't feel like it's a favorite topic of yours, but I accidentally found spinach that came back up this spring, a cabbage plant that I put into my garden as a transplant, probably August-ish. And didn't do much, and it actually just got snowed on and snowed on and snowed on. Once the weather broke, I can actually see the leaves curling, like it's going to form a head, baby. It's going to happen. So I say that to say, that's a strategy that a lot of people use. I hear that a lot when it comes to carrots and things. And again, my temperature, I'm in zone 6. My temperatures definitely get below freezing, as a standard throughout the winter. So even in this cold climate. So it's worth adding that to your list of things to research for your area to see if that's an opportunity for you. Because guess what? Especially if you're direct sowing, but again, even if it's a transplant, I don't have to tend to that inside, over the course of the winter or the early spring. I don't have to worry about hardening it off. I don't have to worry about, I don't have to worry about watering needs much,
No, you don't. You don't have to worry about a lot of things because it's taken care of. And once the snow piles up on it, it's, it's insulated. Yeah. So you're good to go. You know what I mean? So it's I feel like in my seed journey, you like how I didn't say most people, in my seed journey, it's always been a battle of the weather, get it out in time. Yeah. But when I found that article and I realized, well, hey, maybe I can try something a little bit different, it really worked out in my favor. And I don't even know how much money I've saved this year in coming, by doing that because of the way the price are. And I've even had some flowers come over winter as well, which I did not expect to overwinter. Yeah. I've had quite a few overwinter this year that I did not anticipate at all. So that was a nice treat as well. So usually I'll go out and buy annuals to put on my porch and stuff in pots. I haven't really had to do that yet. And I've actually taken and stuck cuttings and perennials in the pots as well, so that they'll just come back, and you can fluff them up and put some annuals and stuff around them. But between doing cuttings, propagating or cuttings, however you want to, say it, I'm pretty sure they're the same thing, right?
No, I think they're different, but we're not going to hash that out. So,
okay.
Go ahead.
So between doing that and starting seeds, you can start an amazing, lush garden with nothing. And you can do the cuttings with tomatoes. You can do them with, I believe you can do them with melons as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that many
Sweet
of
potatoes.
these plants will form roots once you put them into water, or in some cases soil, depending on how you've cut that plant.
Just depends on how much time you have, if it is worth it.
Yeah.
So
I have a 2 pots now. They're in containers. So 2 containers of hostas, which it's a pretty traditional, almost like a filler. Kind of greenery, if you will. And they originally came from my grandparents' house, right? So I dug them out of their yard. I planted them in my backyard, knowing that they were perennial, knowing that they would spread. I kind of tucked them into a corner. I had some concrete laid and I dug them up. Actually, I take that back. When I had my deck done, the folks that were working stepped all over. It was like in September. So stepped all over the hostas. They just looked pitiful, right? From soil side up, but they weren't done, right? And then I ended up having some concrete laid, and so that they couldn't stay in that home anymore. I dug them up, put them in a container. I mean, I'm going to say 6, 7, 8, 9 years old or something, but for sure the transfer from the soil in ground to the container, they come back every spring. They're as big, if not bigger, than my neighbor who has them in her like in ground space. So, I mean, just find the plant, man. It can happen for you.
And then you can take that hosta when it gets big enough, and then you can split it.
Yep.
And you can move it. So I've built out a garden solely off of splitting almost. Like I have asters that are growing. Not asters. Oh, man, I forgot the name of the plant. Well, yeah, it's on, apparently every year I do a shade garden tour. It's like an annual thing, and I'm coming up on it. But there's a certain plant which it's just left me. But I've split it last year. And then this fall, I'm going to split it again and move, and so I've started building out. I split my hostas and did that same thing. So I've got a whole border now with that. I've split my phlox in that one. And then I have some ferns as well that probably next year I'll be splitting. I have a bed of yarrow that I'm going to be splitting that shoot up flowers. I mean, so these are all fully, and you can split them almost whenever you want. It's best to wait until the fall or when they're dormant, but you can repot them and put them somewhere. And I mean, who says you got to put a perennial in the ground? You can put it in a pot, like I said, and you've got maintenance free, building gardens and taking care of it. So that's a big cost savings.
Yeah. So for the hostas that I have in the container, I basically do nothing with it. Like they get watered basically. I mean, it's a pretty big size container. I don't know the gallons, but probably 15, 16 gallons or something. It's definitely not a 20 gallon, but anyway, I end up watering it if I'm watering other things, right? Over the winter, as it gets cold, I just let it die. The foliage, right? And then in the spring, I just let those dead leaves kind of serve as mulch. Right. And then at some point, I can pull back those dead leaves or pull them up and see the hostas coming up. And to your point, like I can even at that stage, because they're pretty hardy and a lot of these plants and flowers are, I could dig some out and plant them, split them and plant them somewhere else. I do think that even if you don't have an eye for like what you want that full design to be, you still have an opportunity to try something out because it's just costing you a little bit of elbow grease. There's
That's
no
it,
money associated with it. And I don't know. I don't think I've ever done that kind of thing, with lilies and things like that and killed, the plant. So it's probably possible. I'm sure it's possible, but
if you do it at the wrong time and you stress it too bad, for sure. But if you do it at the right time and you plan it and take care of it, dude, I'm the same as you. I've had some that have been damaged, but they've always come back.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's not rocket science. And I know if you're listening to this as we hit the 20-minute mark, I want to say this. You may be gardening your food and you may say, well, I don't care about flowers, not whatever. Well, you've made it this far, so obviously you do care, and it's a matter of time before you start planting something. I just want to tell you because I was the same way for a long time. Now, I'm not a huge flower gardener, but I want my space to look appropriate and nice and, comfortable, and I want it to be inviting. I don't want to have a lush vegetable garden and then like a barren land behind it. Yeah. So, there is that. But if you've made it this far, It's going to be you soon. So just go ahead and get you some flower seeds. And my tip for you is if you're going to start perennials from seed, look up top 10 easiest perennials to start by seed and start there. Mm-hmm. That's the number one way. You're going to find something you like more than likely, and they're going to be easy to germinate within reason. You can start a lot of them, and you can really fill out an area.
Yep. So,
because remember, you want to plant in threes, odd numbers.
Or fives or sevens.
Yeah, or sevens or nines or 11s. All right, everybody. Check out the first season of The Backyard Kitchen, why don't you? Available on Tubi, and tell us if you live in Canada. We are international. Thank you.
See ya.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. Please follow us on YouTube at Backyard Gardens TV,
Instagram at Backyard Gardens TV, over on our website, backyardgardenstv.com, and then we have Patreon at Backyard Gardens.
And don't forget to check out our links below to help the show. Thank you so much for joining us as we learn to grow and grow for change. Cut.
Now you know why people feel like celebrating at harvest time.
All over the world, people have feasting and good times when the crops have been gathered in.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Backyard Gardens podcast.
If you like what we're doing and you want to continue to support the podcast, head over to our Patreon page to sign up.
You can also make a one-time donation using PayPal. Both of these links are in the description.
With your support, we can continue growing and helping others in their gardens. See ya.
If you guys want some Backyard Gardens gear,
go to the link below and check out our t-shirts, mugs, pint glasses, and other gear.
All purchases go towards helping to support the show, so thank you so much in advance, and we hope you enjoy. We want everybody to have a garden, and we're going to give you a chance to win free seeds every month.
Head over to backyardgardenstv.com and enter your email address to be entered in all of our giveaways.
Good luck.
We want you to be a part of our gardening community. DM us a picture of your garden at Backyard Gardens TV on Instagram, and we will share it with our listeners.